kama Prime Minister wa kutoka Mozambique, jameni, asanteni sana. Today we gather as a nation, as one people, here at Ithokwe Stadium in Kitui to celebrate Mashujaa Day, our National Heroes Day. Mashujaa Day is an occasion for remembrance, for celebration, and for reflection, and also a day for renewal. As you all know, yesterday we bid farewell to one of our country's most consequential and impactful sons, a towering statesman, a resolute patriot, and a quintessential hero, the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga, our former Prime Minister. This is the man, the legend, and the Pan-Africanist to whom we dedicate this Mashujaa Day. It is for this reason, fellow citizens, in his solemn memory, that I invite us all to now stand and observe a moment of silence in honor and celebration of his remarkable life and service to our great country, our continent, and to humanity. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Sons and daughters of our motherland, Kenya, Raila Amolo Odinga aspired and labored for a Kenya that is free, that is fair, governed by the rule of law, and filled with limitless opportunity for all of us. Baba envisioned and fought for a nation where, in the immortal words of our national anthem, justice is everyone's shield and defender, where we all dwell in unity, peace, and liberty, and a Kenya that has plenty within its borders. It goes without saying that it is precisely because of great and irrepressible giants like Raila that we find within ourselves the courage and inspiration to go further, to dream bigger, and to pursue higher ideals. For greatness and nobility are never achieved by settling for the ordinary or the comfortable. They are seized by those who dare to push the frontiers of possibility, by those who refuse to be confined by what is, but instead reach boldly for what could be. It is in that restless, relentless pursuit of higher ideal, in that unyielding spirit of aspiration, that humanity advances and nations rise. For it is only by stretching beyond our limits that we discover our true strength and fulfill our full destiny. Fellow citizens, as we emerge from a week of profound sorrow and reflection, and as the nation continues to observe the 7 days of mourning on the passing of our former Prime Minister, it is both fitting and worthy that we anchor this year's Mashujaa celebration in the extraordinary and consequential life of our departed legend, the Right Honorable Raila Odinga. In honoring his memory, we also draw from his journey of enduring lessons of courage, service, and unyielding love for country. The first lesson that Baba taught us is to put country above self. Time and again, he reminded us that no disagreement is greater than our unity. no ambition more important than our peace, and no personal interest higher than the welfare of our nation. He famously declared that he would shake the hands of his rivals, whether he won or lost, because he loved Kenya more than he loved Raila Amolo Odinga. That was the measure of the greatness of a man. Early this year, when I invited him to address our cabinet retreat, Baba reiterated the need to ensure, above all else, that Kenya remains a stable and a secure nation. He reminded us that we may hold lofty visions and great ambition, that we may dream big, daring dreams, but without a country and a stable political environment, they would remain mere wishes. Perhaps more significantly, he told us that an imperfect nation striving for perfection is far better than one that is consumed by chaos and anarchy. And he could readily point to countries in our region that were once stable, but later descended into turmoil and disorder, and decades on, they are yet to regain their stability. There are people still enduring untold suffering and loss. This is the critical lesson that those who criticized and faulted Baba for working with us to stabilize the nation forget or refuse to acknowledge, or they just simply don't care. When some saw the opportunity to bring down their competitors, even if it meant bringing down the country, Baba chose the stability of Kenya. For Agwambo, the specter of a failed state was too grave to contemplate. He understood that leadership is not about personal pride, but about preserving the republic, not about victory in politics, but about preserving the stability of the nation we love, Kenya. Second, fellow citizens, Raila's love for Kenya was deep, steadfast, and unconditional. He once told us that if he were to die and God asked him where he would wish to be born again, he would say without hesitation, "Take me back to Kenya." Such was the depth of his devotion to our beloved nation. He knew that Kenya, like all nations, was not perfect, that nation building was work in progress, that it is only renewed with every generation. He understood that we are an imperfect people, always striving towards a more perfect union. Yet even in our flaws, he saw magic and beauty. In our struggles, he discerned promise, and in our contradictions, he could pick out hope and unity. To Raila, there was no place on earth more worthy of devotion, no people more deserving of faith, and no dream more noble than the Kenyan dream. Thirdly, Baba's life was an example of always choosing and closing ranks for the common good. When our nation faced turbulence last year, for example, I reached out across the political divide. Baba was the first to come to the table to help steady the ship of state, leading to the formation of the broad-based government that has since stabilized our economy and our nation. That is what heroes do. When the stakes are high, they rise above partisanship and put the country first. Even during the last election campaigns, when fate placed us once again on opposite sides of the political divide, Baba spoke words that will echo through generations. He said, and I quote, "I have been to the mountaintop. I have seen the glory land. I may not get there with you, but together we will get there." End of quote. In those words lay the essence of his leadership: selfless, visionary, and anchored in faith that Kenya's destiny transcends any individual. He reminded us that collaboration, even with rivals, is not an act of political convenience, but a sacred pact with posterity. For Baba, it was never about him becoming president. It was about Kenya having a good president, and Kenya moving from a third world status to a first world status in a short time as possible, so that we, as a people and as a nation, can realize our true potential. The glory land that he saw at the mountaintop is the better, the greater, and the more perfect union for which we must now, on this Mashujaa Day, dedicate ourselves anew. Fourth, our former Prime Minister was a foremost preacher of national unity. He tirelessly reminded leaders and citizens alike that our overarching identity is not defined by tribe, region, or creed, but by the sacred bond of being Kenyan. He often urged us to think Kenya first, to let the idea of one nation under one flag rise above all else. And he lived by that creed. When in 2002, he stood before the nation and declared Kibaki Tosha, it was not because he was unaware of where President Kibaki came from. It was because he saw beyond geography and ethnicity. He saw Kenya as one united nation under God. Fellow countrymen and women, it would therefore be a desecration of his legacy if we were to allow ourselves to be divided by sectarian interests, by the peddlers of hate, or by the see nothing good about Kenya battalion. The fifth lesson from Baba's life is one of unshakable faith in the future. He was a die-in-the-wool eternal optimist. Through every trial, setback, and triumph, the Right Honorable Raila believed that Kenya's best days were still ahead. He endured prison, persecution, and political defeat, yet never surrendered to bitterness or gave in to hopelessness. His optimism wasn't anchored on naivety. It was courage in motion. His life was a constant reminder that no setback is final, no dream too distant, and no obstacle insurmountable for a people determined and united by purpose. At this juncture, fellow patriots, allow me to share reflections on the future of our great country, drawn from my intimate and wide-ranging conversations with the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga in the final months of his remarkable journey, as well as with leaders from across the political divide. In our engagements, Baba often spoke with immense passion and at times frustration about the pace of our national progress. He would often wonder why nations like South Korea, Singapore, or Malaysia, which were once at par with Kenya just a few decades ago, had leapt forward to first world status while we still grapple with the basics. In those moments of honesty and deep introspection, we came to a shared conclusion that the true driver of national development is leadership. And I repeat, is leadership. Not leadership focused on the next election, but leadership that aspires to impact the next generation. Leadership that dares to dream beyond its time and even its capacity. Leadership that is bold, visionary, and relentless in pursuit of the common good of our nation. And we agreed that if Kenya is to attain first world status within our lifetime, as it must, we should set for ourselves daring, audacious goals and pursue them with unwavering focus. It is in this very conviction, ladies and gentlemen, that has guided my engagements with leaders and stakeholders from across the political divide. I have consulted with my former boss, the fourth president of Kenya, His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta. I have held discussions with majority of members of parliament, and they are here. I have consulted with many governors and grassroots leaders from every corner of the nation. And I will continue to engage because Kenya's progress must never be a partisan pursuit. It is a national inclusive mission. Through these deliberations, I have arrived at a clear conclusion that although we have made commendable progress in stabilizing the nation over the last 3 years, the time has come to take the country to the next level. And to do so, we must act decisively on at least 3 national priorities. Our first priority is food security. We cannot speak of prosperity while spending over 500 billion shillings every year importing food into Kenya, including maize, importing wheat, rice, sugar, edible oil, among many. This is not just an economic burden to us. It is a threat to our sovereignty. A nation that cannot feed itself, ladies and gentlemen, is not a nation that can claim to be free or sovereign. The only viable path available for us towards this goal now, fellow citizens, is through the expansion of irrigation and the modernization of our agriculture. Rain-fed farming can no longer sustain our growing population or our aspirations. That is why we have now set an ambitious target to build at least 50 mega dams across Kenya and to bring at least 2 million acres under irrigation. Let me emphasize that this is not a far-fetched dream. It is a necessity that must be realized within the next decade. We must become not only a food secure nation, but also a major exporter of farm produce in the coming years. We have many markets that we have negotiated. We have the American market under accord. We have the Chinese market that is now open for us. We have the European market that we have negotiated under the Economic Partnership Agreement. We have the Africa Continental Free Trade Area market of 1.4 billion that we can export to. Our second priority is enhance value addition, agro-processing and manufacturing